Art the Clown and a ton of other horror villains are finally coming to Dead by Daylight. Let's talk a little bit about it.
What's your favorite scary movie?
Be afraid. Be very afraid.
I want to be a fighter, like you.
Oh, let it burn! Let it burn!
Did you miss me?
You have to shoot them in the head. They always come back.
The boat can leave now. Tell the crew.
But sometimes that is better.
Good luck.
Hey everybody, I'm Killjoy Jake. Today we have some really exciting updates across the entire horror universe, not just movies, but also video games. In fact, today's Dead by Daylight update regards the upcoming movie as well as the game. Lots of exciting stuff up ahead, but before we get into all that, please make sure to like this video and subscribe to this page for more horror update videos just like this one. Also, if you're interested in watching reaction videos to both all of Dexter, as well as a ton of different horror movies, make sure to check out the Patreon. The link for that will be down in the description below. All right, now let's get into this plethora of updates that you might have missed. Greg Nicotero had a very busy weekend, announcing something going on with Tales from the Crypt, as well as being a part of the upcoming Twilight of the Dead, the Lost Romero film that is finally going into production this summer. So first and foremost, to celebrate the fact that Tales from the Crypt is finally back, unearthed from the grave where it was kind of lost to time, wasn't streaming on HBO or HBO Max, now all 7 seasons of the show are streaming on Shudder, and I'm currently watching it for the first time. It's so good. Special effects makeup legend Greg Nicotero unveiled a brand new Crypt Keeper puppet. This was a brand new picture posted by Shudder's social media accounts featuring Greg as well as John Kassir, the voice of the Crypt Keeper from back in the day. So now that Shudder has the streaming rights to Tales from the Crypt, are they also doing an 8th season? It certainly begs that question, and God, I have my fingers crossed that we're getting more of this show, because I'm only through 2 seasons of it now, and I'm blown away by how fun this is. And also by how many recognizable faces worked on that show. Did you know that there's an episode of Tales from the Crypt in season 2 directed and mark my words right there, directed by Arnold Schwarzenegger? It's not very good, but the fact that it was directed by Arnold Schwarzenegger is insane. He kind of comes out at the beginning too and hangs out with the Crypt Keeper. It's ridiculous. This show is so fucking 90s, and God, I love it. I will gladly eat up another season of this like yesterday. Also, at a horror con this past weekend, Greg Nicotero announced that he will be working on Twilight of the Dead. What's really cool about this project is that it actually comes from notes via George Romero before his passing, of course, and Jerusalem filmmakers, the Paz brothers, are actually going to be stepping up to direct this puppy. The filmmakers said of the project, stepping into Romero's world is the ultimate privilege for any genre filmmaker. This is more than a continuation, it's a responsibility. We are committed to honoring his voice while delivering a visceral, terrifying, impactful experience for today's audience that resonates beyond the screen. With Greg Nicotero doing the special effects and Kate Beckinsale starring in this thing, I think this is going to be another hit zombie flick. Another reason why this whole update is so cool is that Greg Nicotero actually got his start working on Day of the Dead all the way back in the 80s. He worked with Romero a couple of times after that, most notably on Land of the Dead, which is probably the most underrated of the Dead movie, but the fact that he's going to be doing the makeup here for Twilight of the Dead is super fucking cool and very full circle. I also want to make one last note about this. I really hope that Twilight of the Dead commits to slow zombies. Look, I get it, the new trend is fast zombies. Pretty much ever since 28 Days Later came out in the early 2000s, all of the zombie movie hits have been fast-running zombies. That's scary as fuck, don't get me wrong, but I also love me a good slow zombies movie too. Something I really appreciated about 28 Years Later in particular is that they kind of went back to slow zombies and found a way to work that in to that fast zombies universe. I will also note for our 28 franchise fans out there that yes, they're not technically zombies, but you get my point. That scene from 28 Years Later in particular features a creeping dread sequence that has you biting your nails the entire time, as you watch these two characters unaware of a slow zombie crawling up behind them, maybe about to bite their ankles. Slow zombies are cool, hashtag bring them back. I could do a whole video just on Obsession's insane box office. I honestly considered it this morning, but there's just too many exciting things to talk about. My ADHD brain can't let any of these updates slide, so let's talk a little bit about this insane box office performance from Obsession. At the time of this recording, Obsession currently sits at 286 million worldwide, and that is not slowing down at all. This makes the little romance horror that could one of the most successful indie horror flicks of all time. Dread Central also pointed out in in a recent article that the film has surpassed the entire worldwide gross of the original Blair Witch Project, which is also one of the most successful indie horror flicks like of all time. Whatever you think about Obsession, whenever something like this happens, it means that horror filmmakers of all size and varieties totally fucking win. Curry Barker may have the fact that he went viral in his corner with his previous film, Milk and Cereal, that he just uploaded to YouTube, but the fact that he made an indie horror flick for less than $1 million that is now on its way to $300 million at the box office is pure insanity. Now, it is also notable that Focus Features bought the film for $14 million, so technically you gotta add that to the budget, right? There's a lot of little actuallys about Obsession, but that doesn't take away from the fact that this is a huge success for the horror industry. Not to mention that this past weekend was the film's 5th weekend at the box office, usually when movies just disappear or come to streaming at this point. This movie still pulled in over $20 million against a ton of other huge summer horror hits. Spielberg's new movie came out this past weekend. Backrooms still doing very good. Huge competition, baby. And with all of that going on, people are still choosing to see Obsession in the theaters. The word of mouth for this movie is unstoppable. If I were Focus Features, I would just leave this thing in the theater for as long as you possibly can. This box office performance has horror fans asking a ton of questions. One of those is, will we be getting an Obsession 2? Director Curry Barker has already talked about wanting to do some sort of mini-series based in the Obsession universe where maybe it follows a bunch of different people who get their wish and other filmmakers get to tackle a similar concept. But Curry did recently tell THR this past week that I don't want to go straight into Obsession 2. I have such a cool idea for it. I'm not saying it has to be 5-6 years from now, but I think people would be just as excited for it if it came a little down the road. The box office says a lot about Obsession, but I think another thing is the fact that this film has staying power. We are definitely still going to be talking about that one in 10 years from now, kind of in a similar vein as to how we're still talking about Hereditary all these years later. For instance, I just made a video talking about how Ari Aster kind of wants to do some sort of prequel to Hereditary that he's allegedly already written. That video got a ton of views, a ton of attention, and a lot of excited comments. That's talking about a prequel film to a horror movie that came out back in 2018, which was 8 years ago. That's how much of an impact that little horror film made all the way back when. Obsession is already doing numbers way crazier than that film. I'll take a sequel. This concept is super malleable, and I think you can do a whole lot more with it. Focus Features also plans on doing an award campaign for the film, likely to throw some Oscar nominations towards Indy Navarrete and Michael Johnston, our two leads of the film. They deserve nominations at the very least, and I actually hope that Obsession gets nominated for Best Feature. You won't have to wait too long for another Curry Barker project, though. The guy is fucking busy. Not only is he working on some sort of new Texas Chainsaw Massacre installment, but before that, he has a new film that is currently in post-production called Anything But Ghosts. It actually stars him and Cooper Tomlinson, the duo from That's a Bad Idea, alongside Aaron Paul, Bryce Dallas Howard, and Violet McGraw. Recently added to the cast as well as Chris Reinacker. I'm really excited to see whatever the hell this thing is. Curry Barker has the horror space in a chokehold. I cannot wait to see what he does next. I'm really excited for a brand new horror flick coming out at the end of this week called Leviticus, and I really hope more people go and check it out. Adrian Chiarella's Festival Darling got a ton of early buzz, and I'm really excited to finally see it at the end of this week. The very clearly It Follows inspired thriller follows two star-crossed teenage boys who must escape a violent entity that takes the form of the person they desire most, each other. It also features Joe Bird from Talk to Me for any Filippo brother fans out there. The trailer looks super fucking scary, and also it's Pride Month, baby. Let's throw on some queer horror every now and then. Check this movie out on June 19th, the end of this week when it drops in theaters. I'm going to be putting out a review sometime on Friday, maybe. We're getting all sorts of new footage from Evil Dead Burn. I really hope this isn't spoiling too many crazy sequences about the upcoming flick, but I'll tell you what, this is the franchise continuation that I am the most excited for moving into the rest of the year. Some new posters tease some of the weapons we'll see in the upcoming flick, like the family candelabra, the bloody dinner fork, Dad's brush trimmers, the headrest, and of course, the antique wooden corkscrew. I think we've seen almost all of these weapons utilized in the trailers or teasers so far, so again, I hope there's some moments that we haven't seen yet going into this flick. I hate when trailers show you everything about a movie before you get there. Speaking of which, we have a brand new shot of Alice revving up those bush trimmers, and then Grandma here is asking if there's any deadites lurking under her bed. I think there might be a deadite in the bed, however, as she quite literally lays up real creepy-like towards the end of this new teaser. I'm pretty sure there's another trailer from Evil Dead Burn that shows her fighting Alice at one point, so I think this whole family is going down to hell. We're less than a month away from Evil Dead Burn dropping on July 10th. Again, my excitement is through the roof on this one. If you haven't started watching Widow's Bay yet, you are missing out. One of the lesser talked about horror hits of the year is Widow's Bay over on Apple TV. It's a killer brand new series that comes to a close this Wednesday. I'm gonna have some sort of review out on the entire first season later on this week. If you have been watching it and enjoying it just like myself, Apple TV just confirmed that they have renewed it for a second season. The very Jaws-inspired series follows Mayor Tom Loftus, played by Matthew Rhys, who is desperate to revive his struggling community. There's no Wi-Fi, spotty cellular reception, and he must contend with superstitious locals who believe their island is cursed. He wants these people to respect him. They don't. They think he is soft and cowardly, and he is. But Loftus is determined to build a better future for his teenage son and turn the island into a tourist destination. Miraculously, he succeeds. Tourists are finally coming. Unfortunately, the locals were right. After decades of calm, the old stories that seemed too ludicrous to be true start happening again. What I especially love about the show, which again, we're going to deal with this in a review later on this week, is the fact that it's not necessarily the show that you think it would be. Usually a show like this would follow the mayor trying to fix up the town and make it ready for tourists. It's kind of like we solve that problem and then we have a whole bunch of other problems after that happens, with the tourists hanging around the island and all this crazy supernatural stuff is happening, popping up everywhere. Impossible problems for this mayor to solve on his own. He has to look towards the superstitious locals. There's a few standout episodes across season 1 so far, but if you're a fan of Friday the 13th or Evil Dead, you're gonna want to put this one on. I'm not gonna say any more than that. Showrunner and creator Katie Dippold said of the second season that season 2 is about how everything is great on the island and there's nothing to worry about. I seriously doubt there's any truth to that, but I am very excited to see season 2, as well as the season finale dropping this Wednesday, June 17th. Catch up on the series before that and we'll have a review hopefully this Thursday, fingers crossed. We have so many Dead by Daylight updates, I don't even know where to start. First and foremost, Blumhouse has finally found a director to helm the Dead by Daylight movie that was announced like 2 years ago now. Admittedly, Blumhouse has been busy. We got a whole bunch of new movies coming from them that you probably heard me talk about on this page before. Variety has just reported that Thorder Paulson, who directed The Damned for Hulu, has been snatched up by the entity to direct this brand new movie. Now, while we don't have any plot details yet for the Dead by Daylight movie, it's safe to assume we're not going to see any of the DLC characters running amok in here. That would be a copyright nightmare. That would entail a movie that features pretty much every major horror icon available. I just don't think that's gonna happen. There are a bunch of original Dead by Daylight killers like the Trapper, the Hillbilly, and the Wraith, alongside the Entity, so I think that's gonna serve as our main antagonist. Some other news that came out of the 10th anniversary event that was broadcasted last night is some of the other new characters that are coming to the game. Some we already knew about, like how Jason Voorhees is coming to Dead by Daylight, but the biggest announcement is that you're going to be able to play as Art the Clown in the game coming up very soon here. David Howard Thornton was even there last night in full Art the Clown makeup. He flipped off the crowd. It was great. On top of that, we've learned that an entire chapter based on Silent Hill F is coming soon, as well as a Scooby-Doo crossover. So hang on a minute. Are you telling me you might be able to play as Shaggy Rogers and then theoretically could get killed by Springtrap? Therefore, Matthew Lillard is killing Matthew Lillard? I'm all about that nonsense. Behavior even put out this entire Year 11 roadmap, kind of detailing pretty much everything we're about to get from June to April of next year. Some other exciting things is that an original new map is dropping this December, and some sort of update regarding the casting of Frank Stone next March. I also want to end today's Dead by Daylight update by saying we're going to try to do some sort of weekly Dead by Daylight stream moving forward. It seems to be one of the most popular games that I stream on this page. We're kicking that off tomorrow night as Jason has just entered the fog. Now we have a Scream 7 casting update, which might sound outrageous considering the fact that Scream 7 came out all the way back in February now, but this is something that for whatever reason Scream fans like to fight me on. So once again, we have some more clarification that I'm right. Joel McHale was recently featured on the Inside of You podcast with Michael Rosenbaum. He talked a bit about how he replaced Patrick Dempsey in the role of Mark in Scream 7.
Patrick, please forgive me if I'm fucking this up, but I get there and his nameplate is on my chair.
This is even more confirmation that Patrick Dempsey was supposed to portray the character of Mark in this film, serving as some sort of connection to Scream 3. So many of you are so wonderful, and I love you bunches. Thank you for watching these silly little videos. But some of y'all want to fight me at every single update for some reason. One of these things for the longest time has been whenever I talk about Patrick Dempsey playing the role of Mark, which again was his name in Scream 3, Mark. This isn't that tough of a thing to believe. Y'all fight me to the ends of the earth. I'm sure even after this update, some of y'all are gonna be in the comments saying that Joel McHale was definitely supposed to play Mark the entire time. In fact, Joel McHale was supposed to play Mark even all the way back in Scream 3. I'm sure someone's gonna comment it. I'm sure of it. But for the sane people out there, Joel McHale did end up replacing Patrick Dempsey in Scream 7. What do you guys think about that? Would you rather have seen McDreamy in this role or McHale? Let me know your thoughts down in the comments below. One last little channel update before we wrap up today's video is that we're completely revamping our Patreon page. Moving forward, I'm going to have a new reaction video there every single weekday, whether it is a new episode of Dexter, or maybe I'm watching a movie on Tuesdays and Thursdays for our top tier patrons. I'm currently going through the scary movie films starting this Tuesday. Please consider supporting the page on Patreon. It is the best way to keep the lights on around the Killjoy Jake studios. The link for that is down in the description below. Thank you all so much for watching. Thank you for subscribing. And as always, don't forget to kill it out there, y'all.